promise you that we may not be perfect, but we will always strive to perfection. I ask you all, pray for me, wish me well. I want to do well because when a president does well, the country does well. And I want to do well for this country.
Hello guys, welcome to my channel. The new president, the 17th in the row, was just declared. Everyone knows him for sure. But do you know all the 16 past presidents? I am not in the position to educate you, but I am here to let you know, if not remind you, who they were. 1. Emilio Aguinaldo y Pami. Emilio was a Filipino revolutionary statesman and military leader who is officially recognized as the first and the youngest president of the Philippines. He was the first president of a constitutional republic in Asia. He was born March 22, 1869 in Kawit, Cavite and died February 6, 1964 in Quezon City. Emilio Aguinaldo led a revolutionary movement against the Spanish colonial government in the Philippines. He cooperated with the U.S. during the Spanish-American War, but subsequently broke with the U.S. and led a guerrilla campaign against U.S. authorities during the Philippine-American War. 2. Manuel L. Quezon y Molina. Manuel is also known by his initials MLQ. He was a Filipino statesman, soldier, and politician who served as President of the Commonwealth of the Philippines from 1935 until his death in 1944. He was born August 19 in 1878 in Baler, Aurora Province. He died August 1, 1944 in Saranac Lake, New York, United States of America. Named as Ama ng Pambansang Wika, or the father of the Philippine national language, his most significant achievements was the passage of the Jones Act that provided for the grant of the Philippine independence. He was elected senator in 1916 and eventually became Senate President. He headed the first independence mission to the U.S. Congress and brought home the Tidings-McDuffie Independence Law in 1934. 3. Jose P. Laurel y Garcia. Jose P. Laurel was a Filipino politician and judge who served as president of the Japanese-occupied Second Philippine Republic, a puppet state during World War II from 1943 to 1945. 4. Sergio Osmeña Sr. y Sueco. Sergio Osmeña Sr. was a Filipino politician who served as the 4th President of the Philippines from 1944 to 1946. He was Vice President under Manuel L. Quezon. Born September 9, 1878 in Cebu City, he died October 19, 1961 in Quezon City. He had his education at the University of Santo Tomas, Colegio de San Juan de Letran, and University of San Carlos in Talamban Campus, Cebu City. Sergio Osmeña Sr. was the second president of the Philippine Commonwealth and a distinguished statesman. He led the country in its initial stage of political maturation by his honest and selfless devotion to public service. 5. Manuel Aconia Rojas. Manuel Rojas was the 5th President of the Philippines who served from 1946 until his death in 1948. Born January 1, 1892 in Rojas City, Manuel died on April 15, 1948 at Clark Air Base. His administration demonstrated decisively that political sovereignty without economic independence encourages reaction, perpetuation of social injustices, and exploitation. During his term, he displayed profound statesmanship and intelligence, making his mark as a master of economics, and he was among the 7 wise men who drew up Constitutional Convention and accordingly became the last of the Commonwealth presidents and the first for the Republic of the Philippines. 6. Elpidio Rivera Quirino. Elpidio Quirino was a Filipino lawyer and politician who served as the 6th President of the Philippines from 1948 to 1953. A lawyer by profession, Quirino entered politics when he became a representative of Ilocos Sur from 1919 to 1925. He was then elected as senator from 1925 to 1935. Born November 16, 1890 in Vigan City, he died February 29, 1956 in Quezon City. He was called as the father of the Philippine industrialization. He supported the establishment of several industrial plants and projects at strategic points all over the country, thereby mobilizing its economic resources and ushering in an era of industrialization. 7. Ramon Del Fierro Magsaysay Sr. Ramon Magsaysay was a Filipino statesman who served as the 7th Philippine President from the year 1953 to 1957. He was credited for restoring peace, law, and order during the Philippine crisis of the 1950s and the Hukbalahap Rebellion. He was the first Philippine president from the landless lower middle class, the petite bourgeois stratum of society. He was born August 31, 1907 in Iba, Zambales and died March 17, 1957 in an aircraft disaster. 8. Carlos Polistico Garcia. Carlos Garcia was a Filipino teacher, poet, orator, lawyer, public official, political economist, guerrilla, and Commonwealth military leader who was the 8th President of the Philippines. He was born November 4, 1896 in Talibon, Bohol, and died June 14, 1971 in Quezon City. Carlos P. Garcia was noted for the enunciation of the Filipino First policy intended to compete and guarantee Philippine economic independence and sovereignty. 9. Diosdado Pangan Macapagal Sr. Diosdado Macapagal Sr. was the 9th President of the Philippines, serving from 1961 to 1965. He also served as a member of the House of the Representatives and headed the Constitutional Convention of 1970. Born September 28, 1910 in Lubao, Pampanga, he died April 21, 1997 at Makati Medical Center. As president, Macapagal worked to suppress graft and corruption and to stimulate the Philippine economy. He introduced the country's first land reform law, placed the peso on the free currency exchange market, and liberalized foreign exchange and import controls. 10. Ferdinand Emmanuel Idralin Marcos Sr. Ferdinand following a series of bombings in Manila. 11. Maria Corazon Cory Sumulong Cuangco Aquino. Cory Aquino was a Filipino politician who served as the 11th President of the Philippines from 1986 to 1992. Born January 25, 1933 in Paniki, Tarlac, she died August 1, 2009 at Makati Medical Center. It was on February 25, 1986 by the People Power when Corazon Aquino assumed the position of President of the Philippines. She was the first female president and considered free secondary school as one of the greatest accomplishments. During her time in office, the God Save the Queen attempt was made, along with many calls for resignation. As President, Aquino oversaw the drafting of the 1987 Constitution, which limited the powers of the presidency and re-established the bicameral Congress, successfully removing the previous dictatorial government structure. 12. Fidel Valdez Ramos. Fidel Ramos, popularly known as FVR and Eddie Ramos, is a retired Filipino general and politician who served as the 12th President of the Philippines from 1992 to 1998. Born March 18, 1928 in Lingayen, Pangasinan, Fidel Ramos is remembered for steadfastly promoting the principles of people empowerment and global competitiveness. In 1993, he put an end to the power crisis that crippled Filipino homes and industries for 2 years. The Philippines 2000 platform was widely successful, making it one of the greatest legacies of the Ramos administration to the Philippines. 13. Joseph Ejercito Estrada, also known by the nickname Irap, is a Filipino politician and former actor. He was born on April 19, 1937 in Tondo, Manila. The Estrada administration widened the coverage of the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program, or CARP, to the landless peasants in the countryside. The latter's administration distributed more than 266,000 hectares of land to 175,000 landless farmers, including land owned by the traditional rural elite. He served as the 13th President of the Philippines from 1998 to 2001, the 19th Vice President of the Philippines from 1992 to 1998, and the 21st Mayor of City of Manila, the country's capital, from 2013 to 2019. In 2001, he became the first chief executive in Asia to be formally impeached and resigned from power. 14. Maria Gloria Macaraig Macapagal Arroyo. Gloria Arroyo, often referred to by her initials GMA, is a Filipina academic and politician who served as the 14th President of the Philippines from 2001 until 2010. She is the longest-serving President of the Philippines since Ferdinand Marcos. She was born April 5, 1947 in Lubao, Pampanga. Arroyo's ascent to the Philippine presidency in 2001 resulted from the ouster of her predecessor Joseph Estrada through a peaceful uprising dubbed as People Power II. GMA, daughter of the late President Diosdado Macapagal, earned a master's degree and a doctorate in economics, made the Philippine economy the focus of her presidency. Annual economic growth in the Philippines averaged 4.5% during the Arroyo administration, expanding every quarter of her presidency. 15. Benigno Simeon Cuangco Aquino III, also known as Noynoy Aquino and colloquially as Pinoy, was a Filipino politician who served as the 15th President of the Philippines from 2010 to 2016. He was born February 8, 1960 in Sampaloc, Manila. He died June 24, 2021 at Capital Medical Center Incorporated in Quezon City. Aquino introduced reforms in the Philippine education program by introducing the K-12 curriculum, signing into law the Enhanced Basic Education Act in 2013. This added 2 years to the basic education system, which became known as the senior high school stage. One of the biggest accomplishments of President Benigno S. Aquino III's administration was to provide kasambahay with welfare and social protection. This administration is the first to put the welfare and social protection of kasambahay. 16. Rodrigo Roa Duterte, also known as Digong, Rudy, and by the initials PRRD. By 2020, up 36% from 2019. 5. An independent foreign policy. 6. Duterte reduced red tape from the masses and made oligarchs to the line. 7. Universal healthcare insurance coverage expanded from 90% of the population to 100%. And 17. Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr., commonly referred to as Bongbong Marcos or BBM, is a Filipino politician who is the President-elect of the Philippines. He previously served as senator from 2010 to 2016. Bongbong Marcos was born on September 13, 1957 in Manila. In 1980, the 23-year-old Marcos became Vice Governor of Ilocos Norte, running unopposed with the Kilusang Bagong Lipunan party of his father. He then became Governor of Ilocos Norte in 1983, holding that office until his family was ousted from power by the People Power Revolution and fled into exile in Hawaii in February 1986. Marcos was elected as representative of Ilocos Norte's 2nd Congressional District from 1992 to 1995. Marcos ran for and was elected Governor of Ilocos Norte again in 1998. After 9 years, he returned to his previous position as representative from 2007 to 2010, then became senator under the Nacionalista Party from 2010 to 2016. In 2015, Marcos ran for vice president in the 2016 election with a difference of 263,473 votes and 0.64% difference. Marcos lost to Camarines Sur Representative Leni Robredo. In response, Marcos filed an electoral protest at the Presidential Electoral Tribunal. His petition was later unanimously dismissed after the pilot recount of the chosen provinces of Negros Oriental, Iloilo, and Camarines Sur resulted in the Robredo widening her lead by 15,093 additional votes. However, in this 2022 presidential election, BBM won by 31.6 million votes over Robredo with only 15.03 million votes.
I promise you that we may not be perfect, but we will always strive to perfection. I ask you all, pray for me, wish me well. I want to do well, because when a president does well, the country does well, and I want to do well for this country.